Hello folks, welcome to another episode of the Ninjutsu podcast. I'm your host, Don Roy. Today we're going to talk about something about using names like Kotoru, Gyokoru, Kukishinenru, and even Bujikan. Okay, I had planned on doing something else, but something came up and it seemed like a good time to deal with the matter. So, the thing that came up, part of my feed, someone by the name of Jeff Prather, the Japanese always referred to him as Prather May when we discussed him. He wrote something that came across my feed, and essentially a short description. He went through all of his claimed credentials and uses a justification for what he said was he was going to modify Bunjinkan techniques, and he said that he wasn't even going to teach the basic punching technique that we in the Bunjinkan use. He's going to teach something else for a punch. And he posted it under a page name called Bunjinkan USA. So I get the impression that he's still calling himself Bunjinkan while he does this. Now, the wisdom of saying, the wisdom of what he's doing, okay, that's another matter, and I don't doubt he cares about my opinion on it. But I'm going to say this. Jeff, if you're watching this, the only moral thing you can do right now, if you're going to follow this path, is to drop the Bunjinkan name entirely. Maybe resign. You can still be a student, I think. No big deal there. But use a different name other than Bunjinkan. And then teach under that name and not Bunjinkan. Put simply, it is immoral to use the title of the Bunjinkan name when you're not going to follow the directions or the way of teaching that the people that head the Bunjinkan say to do. The Bunjinkan, of course, was an organization created by Masahaki Hatsumi, the soke of 9 schools, to teach the totality of what he has learned. And, ranks are issued in the Bunjinkan name. And Soke Hatsumi passed that organization along, the control of it, to a few people in Japan. They have a say in what is and is not Bunjinkan. Nobody else does. They're like copyright holders. So if you go off and, create a new thing with its own title, great, then teach it under that name. I did that myself for a while. I taught one class a week on firearms and incorporating things like, if people try to grab your gun or try to prevent you from drawing. And of course, most of it was built upon a base of Bunjinkan that I learned. But, I didn't learn tactical reloads from anyone in the Bunjinkan, so it wasn't pure Bunjinkan. I didn't want to use the Bunjinkan name. So one night a week, I taught what I called training for instinctive tactical shootings. And, of course, being me, I just used the initials of it. But I could give out certificates, which in Colorado at the time, they could take a copy of my NRA certificates, certification, and go apply for a concealed weapon permit. But it wasn't a Bunjinkan certificate, it was for training for instinctive tactical shooting. So, that's a way of kind of protecting the Bunjinkan name, the Bunjinkan reputation. And if you're going to do your own thing, that's what you need to do. When Steve Hayes was still allowed to teach in the teach and attend training in the Bunjinkan, there was a lot of ire, problems with, the fact that he was modifying things and still claiming to be, a Bunjinkan teacher, like earth techniques. He did not teach the Sanshin, he did not teach the Kyonhapo. And that was a problem. But now, he's got his own art that he calls Toshindo, and he can do what he wants with it. He's added ground fighting. I don't know where he learned it, but it's not something you find in the Bunjinkan. Not those techniques. But it's Toshindo. It's not Bunjinkan. So, as long as people do not believe that it is part of the Bunjinkan, hey, he can do his own thing. That's what I think you should do, Jeff. It's go off, call it Warrior Quest, camp, whatever, and then you can call yourself Soke Daishihan, Anshu. Hell, you can call yourself the reincarnation of Jesus Christ for all I care. Okay, but that's it. For everyone else, be careful putting names like Kotoru or Gyokoru on certificates, things like that. I mean, I can understand people doing a weekend seminar on Kotoru Kopojutsu, but a certificate of attendance, if you put that Kotoru and say this is certified blah blah blah, gets dicey. Again, getting back to Steve, I was in Japan when the news kind of hit that he had been giving out certificates that included, on Bojutsu, that included the name Kukishindenru Bojutsu. Okay. Yeah, was not around when Soke Hatsumi was talking about that, but I've heard stories. Not good. But, if you just say certificate of attendance for a weekend seminar for the name of your dojo, something else. Unless you're the Soke of Kotoru, and yeah, that's Noguchi Sensei, I would not put down Kotoru or, for any other styles. It's kind of like copyright certificates. It's, do you really know it well enough to teach it? And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, yeah, I am, and I would be looking at them and saying, no, you're not. And ultimately, neither of our opinions are of importance. It's the Soke of Kotoru that gives that type of okay for using it. So yeah, that's it. If you're just using Bunjinkan name, then that could be kind of problematic, even that. I saw a certificate recently from Pedro in Spain. He's got his own little organization called the Unrukai, even though he's still showing up for training in Bunjinkan and learning all he can. But this was like an in-house certificate for his students. And, I looked over the thing, and not only did he drop any references to the 9 schools of the Bunjinkan, but he doesn't even use the term Bunjinkan name. That's just the Unrukai, his own organizations. Okay, if you know Pedro, you know what his standards are. If you see a certificate from him, you know what he thinks about this person and their abilities. Okay, it doesn't have any official weight in any other Bunjinkan dojo, but it is a good indication of what he thinks people are, and people can make their own judgments from it. And it does not involve the Bunjinkan name, so the Bunjinkan really doesn't have anything to say or any concerns about what is going on. So that's it. Be careful using the Bunjinkan name, and especially be careful using names of the schools in the style, like Kotoru, Shinden Fuduru, and stuff like that. Just consider it a copyright issue and act appropriately. I mean, if you called yourself, the Captain American fighting style, Disney's lawyers are going to be on your doorstep in the morning. It would not be that, overt in the way the Japanese do things, but word's going to get back to them, and that might cause problems for you. So best way to avoid it, just be careful with using the names. That's the lesson for today. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.